Here we go, episode 159 of The Hardline. Michael Merlo, John Michael Masiri, here with you, a big-time episode for our Spotify and Apple Podcast listeners. Hope you enjoyed the new intro, which is actually not done yet, but it is technically that you're listening into it now, so that's really fun to play a little future past
Look at you.
game there. That's
You're like the space-time continuum right now. You're time traveling.
Exactly. That's a lot of fun. But a big time episode as we have some major coaching news in the NFL and, of course, setting up for the AFC and NFC Championship games, which are just massive. The AFC Championship game, I think, is the second biggest in a decade. We'll go through that, see if JM agrees or not. So much to go through. But, JM, today is a great day for you. How are you?
I pumped the brakes a little bit. I'm happy. Aaron Glenn was the guy that I wanted. But something that I've learned over the past, 10, 15 years of being a diehard Jets fan is to not celebrate anything until product on the field is provided. So happy, glad we didn't hire freaking Rex Ryan or Matt Nagy or Arthur Smith or any other
Arthur Smith was
guy that I did not want.
They missed out.
But I'm feeling good about Aaron Glenn. Maybe to reverse the curse, you got to bring in a guy who's already been a Jet and been a successful Jet. Maybe that's the key.
Yeah, we'll see. We're about to talk about that, though. In the
or
other
kill Joe Namath, which I've mentioned, but I don't know if that's a realistic option.
Yeah, I think we got to chill out on the death threats to Joe Namath.
Yeah,
he's a good guy.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Because let's just say hypothetically he did go down.
Yeah.
If it's foul play, it could come back to me.
It could definitely. This is on camera. This is on mic. This is not good.
So wishing you the best, Joe.
And I have nothing to do with this, by the way.
Right.
I am not a co-conspirator if something is to, God forbid, happen to Joe Namath. Okay, before we talk about the Jets hiring Aaron Glenn and all of the other coaching news, just want to give a shout out to our loyal listeners. Thank you so much for liking and subscribing on YouTube, rating us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and following our social media pages. Check out that. We'll have some announcements soon as the season winds down. We'll get to those when we get closer to when we want to bring those things about.
Yeah. I mean, we will have announcements. Hardline, we've been, for those of you who stuck with us since the beginning, we've been Hardline Sports Talk for most of the time. So when football wraps up, we're talking about other things. But this year, we're going to see a lot of new aspects of Hardline, never before seen.
Yeah.
Certain topics we'll be covering. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, we're very excited for that. But JM, I am very excited for this new era of New York Jets football, because if you do not want to say it, that's fine. Don't say it. I will say it. As the independent viewer here of the New York Jets, I will say this. This is the move that changes everything. I think this is the coach that could bring them out of this mess, this 15 year playoff drought. It might not be next season,
right?
But this is going to be the guy. And I think it actually could be next season, depending on the moves they make, especially at quarterback. If Rodgers is back, I think Aaron Glenn is a home run. We had spoken about it at some point. There was a chance, and I think a lot of teams felt this way, that he was a better candidate than Ben Johnson was.
Yeah.
And the Jets, I think, viewed him as this prime candidate, and they got their top guy.
Yeah, especially when you look at certain situations. I think a lot of these coaches ended up in the spots that they should have gone to. Like a Ben Johnson, going to Chicago made sense for him because of the pairing with Caleb Williams, and he's viewed as this smart offensive mind. If Ben Johnson went to the Jets, who are looking for more of a culture change and a leader in that locker room, I don't know if Ben Johnson would have been the right option, and then vice versa. I think Aaron Glenn wouldn't have fit well into Chicago. I think he's more of a fit for the Jets, who are looking for that leader, maybe the defensive-minded coach, however you want to talk about it. Mike Vrabel going to New England makes sense. I was looking at something before. The Adam Schefter was talking about it. Former players going to coach for their former teams. There's now 5 of them in the NFL. You got Jim Harbaugh with the Chargers, DeMeco Ryans with the Texans, Mike Vrabel with the Patriots, Aaron Glenn with the Jets, and Dan Campbell with the Lions. So 3 out of 5 of those have already been successes, and the other 2 are yet to be seen with Vrabel and Glenn. But yeah, I mean, I really hope you're right, Mike. I do think it's the type of coach that they needed, and I think that looking at it from as much of a non-biased perspective and non-misery perspective, I think it is the right move.
You know, you look at a lot of the things that you're going to see fans, especially pessimistic ones, compare this move to Robert Saleh or other moves the Jets have made in the past, hiring, you know, a first-time head coach, defensive head coach. You're going to see those comparisons, and I wouldn't look too much into them. But I think Aaron Glenn, because I don't think they're even close in terms of coaching, but the message I think that Saleh wanted to bring in, I think Aaron Glenn will actually be able to execute that sort of message of, hey, you know, that all gas, no brakes, you know, we're really going to be the toughest team on the field. I felt like it was all say with Robert Saleh.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see it in the coaching with Aaron Glenn, how much different I think the atmosphere and the culture will be with the Jets. And I mean, I already saw a few tweets. You know, I know you love when your Jet players tweet. I saw a couple of tweets before from some Jet players that are going to be around here for a little while, and they were excited. I mean, the move, I think, is universally, maybe not with Jet fans, but I think the people around football, it's universally loved, I think. You know, he is a really good candidate.
Yeah, I think it is universally loved. That's the thing is the big praise for Aaron Glenn is he can relate to players very well, but in a good way. Usually when I hear that, I'm like, I don't know if I want a coach to relate to the players because we need, you know, I almost want a military camp set up here with the New York Jets, but he demands a lot of his players. He earns the respect of his players. He respects his own players. I think that is probably the recipe for it. He knows when to turn it on and when to be hard on guys and get the best out of them. So I'm hoping everything I hear is true, and it seems like it is.
And it's because he's a former player.
Yeah.
He earns that extra respect as a coach because he was there, and more specifically now, he was with the New York Jets. So, yeah, I think it's a home run. You know, if you don't want to say it, I'll say it. Home run hire for the New York Jets. And, you know, obviously they still have to hire a general manager, and I know fans are going to be screaming and yelling, oh, they didn't hire him together. It's together. There's no GM candidate here, especially the ones that they're interviewing, that is going to say, oh, I'm not on board with Aaron Glenn.
Right.
Again, in football, probably a universally liked guy, and a GM, a potential GM, would want to be paired with him.
Right. This isn't more of a controversial hire where maybe you'll have a couple GMs who are going to say, I don't know if I want to work with that guy. You know, if you hired Rex Ryan, you were going to deal with that a lot. I really hope. I don't know. I haven't heard much of it this week. I hope Rex is keeping quiet on Get Up now. I guess he's pumped the brakes on that with saying he's confident he's going to get the job. Yeah. Might be time to hang it up for him. But the GM search is going to be interesting. I do think they're going to end up going with Landmark, right?
Yeah.
That's his
Newmark.
name?
Lance
Newmark.
You put the names together.
Thank you. Yeah. I think they're going to go with Lance Newmark. The connection there makes sense. But we'll see, Mike. There's a lot of work to be done, and you're just hoping for a complete culture change because that's what they need.
There we go. And obviously the GM and more moves, a flurry of moves this offseason for the Jets. It'll be totally exciting.
I don't know if you saw this clip. He was on that podcast with the Fred Taylor and those guys.
Okay.
The one that Brandon Marshall was on.
Oh, inside the NFL?
Yeah. Or no, Crowder. The guy Crowder, the former linebacker for the Dolphins, Fred Taylor, Ryan Clark, whoever's on that podcast. Anyways, he was talking about his coaching career, and originally he became a business owner. He owned like 8 restaurants in Houston after he retired. And he said he was watching TV and yelling at the TV because they were talking about football, and his wife was like, you need to go coach. Like, you know that this is what you truly want to do. And that's exactly what he did. And the nice thing is he worked his way up. He started as a scout, then
with the Jets.
Then he was, a low level like football operations guy, quality control coach, then he moves up to DB coach, then defensive coordinator, and he was rumored in the Jets cycle when they hired Saleh. His name was already in there to be rumored. I don't want to put my foot down on this, but I'm pretty sure he got interviewed by the Jets.
Really?
Yeah. I definitely remember his name being brought up, whether it was for DC or whether it was for head coach.
Interesting. Well, here he goes. He lands in the spot that he's supposed to be in.
Yep.
And a guy that landed or did not land in a spot that he was supposed to be in probably should have been fired 3 weeks ago. That's Trent Baalke, the GM of the Jags, who was let go. They parted ways with him Wednesday afternoon, late Wednesday afternoon, after yet another coach withdrew his name from the Jaguars coaching search. That would be Liam Cohen, the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Had a very successful season with Baker Mayfield and Todd Bowles over there. He comes back with a big pay raise, and I think a lot of continuity there with the Bucs. I think they're going to have a big year again in 2025. More on that later, of course. But JM, this move is probably made because he didn't want to pair himself with a GM that's probably going to be fired within the year. And now the Jags look at themselves and say, we lost out on a few candidates that we really wanted to work with Trevor Lawrence. They said, no thanks, we're going to take other jobs or just withdraw our names. And now they're sitting here. I don't know what are they going to hire Robert Saleh? I mean, is this seriously what they're going to
do? At this point, it's like beggars can't be choosers. Like, you got to just pick the guy out there who's, I guess, in your eyes, the most qualified candidate of who's left and who actually wants to come to your organization. It's been hysterically bad, the Jaguars. They are they're trying to grab the number one spot for the most dysfunctional organization out there. How in this entire process do you hear so much from the owner and then a commitment to the GM, you fire the coach in Peterson, and then as the interview processes go on, like you said, you have guys who are basically declining the job because either number one, they don't want to work with Barkley, or number two, they're just like, Saad Khan is nuts, and we know that he's a heavily involved owner.
Right.
And everybody's just getting pushed away, and then at some point, Saad Khan, you imagine with the timing of all this, is like, crap, I can't get a head coach because nobody wants to work with Barkley. All right, you're out the door. Well, it's too late for that. So what a mess. Just what a mess.
Such a mess. And maybe, now that finally Liam Cohen, he doesn't want the job, Ben Johnson, he says no thanks. Ben Johnson's in another situation now. He's with the Chicago Bears. And I felt like we both thought that was a good spot for him to go work with Trevor Lawrence. He now works with Caleb Williams. More on that in a few. But, Jam, does this open up other opportunities now? Does a guy like Joe Brady, who might benefit from being the offensive coordinator of the Bills for one more season, I know he's a hot name, but probably be the top name next year along with Cohen. But, does this... Now, do you say, okay, you know what, I would consider that job?
I'm not sure. Do you want to? If you're a Joe Brady, like you were saying, you give him another year, and like you said the other day, he's the next hot name on the market. Mm-hmm. He's another Ben Johnson, and he could kind of have his choice to whatever job he wants. Would he want to instead jump to the Jaguars, who are doing dysfunctional move after dysfunctional move? Would he want to do that in his first, round of head coaching interviews when he could wait like Ben Johnson did last year and go out and get, there might be some attractive jobs that open up next year. There will be some attractive jobs that open up next year. Who knows what's going to go down? There's a couple guys on the rocks, just throwing out hypotheticals. The Bengals have another disappointing season. All of a sudden, Joe Brady could be the next head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals. You just don't know what's going to happen. There could be a ton of things that can happen. So if I'm Joe Brady, no way. Listen, Jacksonville, it's nice that you could stay a little under the radar. You're not coaching a big market East Coast, West Coast team. But do you really want to deal with the Jags?
And this could be another situation where maybe they hire Saleh, or heard Patrick Graham's name's in the mix here. Unfortunately, it happened, a couple of times where a few of these teams, like the Texans, they hired David Culley and Lovie Smith for a year. They were fired after 1 year, just kind of like David placeholders.
Culley, man, that was just...
Do you hire a guy to almost, I don't want to say it, be a placeholder?
Right, yeah.
And then you fire him after next year and hope your job is more attractive?
At that point, I just promote from within. If you're just going to hire anybody, then just save yourself the time and have a year-long interim head coach.
It's just, what a mess.
And can you explain to me this whole Robert Saleh, steam in the media all of a sudden, how he's getting these interviews? I don't think the guy's a buffoon. And I think that a lot of the things that happen were out of his control. We know how nuts Woody is. We know that, I guess Aaron Rodgers could be tough to deal with at certain point. That's still up in the air, whether he's a great teammate or a terrible teammate or whatever else. But the only reason why this guy is getting interviews is because when Jeff Ulbrich took over, he did a little worse. Is that what we're saying?
I think, in the arguments I think you made with me when I would just completely crap on Saleh. He's a good defensive coach. He built up that defense a little bit. So I think that, earned the respect of a few people within the NFL. I think, again, the mess that the Jets and Woody Johnson have been for so many years, I think that plays a factor. Listen, I think he could benefit from going back to San Francisco or going to another good spot and 100%. Being the defensive coordinator for a couple of years, and I would definitely consider hiring him again because, maybe he's learned from his mistakes, whatever mistakes were on him with the Jets. Maybe he learned from them. I don't know.
Build your rep up. Build it back up, and then let the stink of the Jets' tenure go away. We're looking, Dan Quinn right now looks like one of the best hires in recent NFL history, and he's on his second stint, and in a similar pattern. Defensive coordinator with Seattle, goes over to Atlanta, becomes the head coach, fired, back to Dallas now, defensive coordinator, and then he's in Washington, and he's a head coach again, and he's got a rookie quarterback playing in the NFC Championship Game.
How about Flores? Is Flores going to get a job here? The Raiders,
that would shock me.
Raiders and Cowboys are probably not hiring him. I don't know where.
Raiders, it's been so dead. The buzz about the Raiders.
They just hired a GM.
It's been very quiet.
They just hired a GM. I forget his name. Let's see. Raiders. They're expected to hire John Spytek, the assistant general manager of the Buccaneers. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, they're a mess, though. I mean, they're an absolute mess. Who would even want to go there? I know Ben Johnson considered it, and let's move to Ben Johnson. Thank God Ben Johnson didn't take that job. Yeah. I mean, to take that job in that division with those coaches, with those quarterbacks, with the situation that you're in, that would have been, I don't care how much they would have paid you. Yeah. How great your conversations were with Tom Brady. To go take that job over the Bear job, which comes with a ton of pressure, that would have been a massive mistake. This, though, I would have liked McCarthy here. I'm fine with it, though. I think Ben Johnson is going to do a good job. I do think he's closer to the Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur's than being a total bust as a head coach.
Right.
He's not going to be as good as those guys, obviously.
Right.
But I don't think he's going to flop.
Right. Well, there's a couple ways that it goes with head coaches sometimes, and there's no way to predict it. But with Ben Johnson, all we know is he's a highly respected guy across the NFL, and he's a very smart, offensive-minded head coach. And what can happen is, sure, is he not viewed as a culture builder? No. But if he comes over and the Bears all of a sudden start looking like a competent offensive football team and start playing a identifiable style of football that's successful, all of a sudden a sort of like aura comes around the team, the way that the Rams have developed over the years, where all of a sudden you're feared and you're a respected team for the stability of your offense, and it seems like plug and play. You put any player in on that offense and they seem to play better. So Ben Johnson, while maybe he won't be the guy giving the rah-rah speech in the locker room like a Dan Campbell will, if you're winning and putting out good quality football, your culture is going to build with that.
Certainly helps learning from guys like Aaron Glenn, who's going to be that sort of head coach, and of course Dan Campbell in that same locker room. I really thought he was like this quiet guy, Ben Johnson, like this super like nerdy quiet guy, and then I saw that video of him in the Bears office yesterday. I don't know if you saw it. Everybody came out of their offices. They were giving him a round of applause. The family's there, and he gave a little speech. I'm like, sounds a little different. It doesn't sound like a guy that's timid, a guy that's to himself, just a scheme guy. He does seem like he does have sort of that leadership quality just based on watching these videos. And I think this, I said this to you, I'm so happy for Caleb Williams because this was obviously the coach he wanted. He's able to watch the Lions play against the Lions all season long. He sees how great this offense can be, and they have players there. Fix the offensive line, probably get another running back, and obviously get younger at receiver with Allen gone and maybe another one. They have the weapons here.
They do.
To do something not as good but similar to what the Lions have been doing.
Yeah, and why can't you have, if you have a smart coach in Ben Johnson, why can't you have a Texans-style turnaround with Caleb Williams? I mean, C.J. Stroud did it in his rookie season with kind of a similar situation. The weapons were actually worse for C.J. Nico Collins was not a name. Like C.J. Stroud, I don't want to say he made Nico Collins because Nico Collins is very, very talented, but they sort of grew together.
Right.
And that offensive line for the Texans was not viewed as a good offensive line. Yeah, you saw Laramie Tunsil, and they had pretty good bookend tackles, but still, the offensive line overall was not viewed as good. And you have the same problem in Chicago, but better weapons and a better prospect out of college in Caleb Williams, and a team that has proven that they can compete when they're playing their best ball over the past couple of years. They haven't done that too often, but when they were clicking, they were a pretty good football team. That defense was playing at a top 10 level. So it could be another one like the Jets, like you were saying. It could be a nice quick turnaround for the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, we'll see. Ben Johnson to the Bears.
This is just so NFL. I was laughing before. We're like not even in the offseason yet, but this is sort of offseason. Right? We're like in between right now because this is the offseason for these teams, obviously. Yeah. That's like off-season talk. Like we're analyzing an Instagram video of a coach greeting employees, and like this. This is what happens.
I love my behind-the-scenes access.
You got to break something down.
Exactly. Yeah. And the introductory press conference. How about that? I like beating Matt LaFleur twice.
Yeah. No eyes bulging out of the head. That's always good.
That's good. That's huge.
Yep.
I could have definitely seen that with him too.
Yeah. Just
100%.
Being a weirdo.
Yeah. No, but that's good. Good for the Bears.
That LaFleur comment, that's going to come back to bite him.
Oh, of course. This franchise.
Yeah,
come on. And the Packer fans are like, your little brother. I mean, who cares?
Yeah.
Maybe that'll change. Who knows? Maybe Ben Johnson is going to be the change that this city, that this franchise needed.
Well, he owned Green Bay when he was at Detroit, so maybe he'll bring that with him to Chicago.
Hopefully. I'm rooting for them. I'm rooting for Caleb because the amount of people that hate Caleb, and I'm like the only guy like defending him, or in my life at least, I want Caleb to be great.
Yeah, as do I.
Let's go. Let's see it.
But even like take personality out of it, and I know some people aren't like they're not crazy about him, but just I never like to see guys who are so highly touted and you get excited about their talent. You hate to see them flop like that, and like to relate to a poverty franchise in the Bears and how poor quarterback play is excruciating to watch. By the way, they pulled up a thing of the Jets droughts with the Aaron Glenn hire. And one of them was like 4,000-yard passer in 1967. Mike, who was the quarterback in 1967?
Namath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wishing you the best, though, Joe.
Here we go. Guys, bringing the name. That's like a threat. That's like a threat to Joe Namath right there.
All the best.
That was like a threat. That was a mini.
No, it's not. I'm just wishing the guy the well-being.
You're bringing him up again. You're bringing him up. That's a threat. That is classified as a threat. Who was the quarterback? Yeah, okay. Yeah, nice and slick. All right, I'm done here. The Cowboys, they might hire Brian Schottenheimer. If they do that, oh, my God. They're so unserious. You like it?
I don't know, man. Like, at what point are we, like, being just, like, bored in the media to criticize head coaching hires unless it's something like obviously terrible?
Brian Schottenheimer has been there for years. He had his play calling duty stripped of him a few years ago by McCarthy. I mean, come on. I mean, we really think that hiring from within here is the right thing to do?
Yeah, I don't know.
They should have just kept McCarthy.
They should have. I think they're probably regretting it. They're probably looking out there right now, and they're looking at their list of candidates, and they're probably there's no way. I would love to ask Jerry Jones this question, and we don't know. Maybe he did have discussions, but last offseason, I would love to say to him, hey, do you regret not doing this a year earlier when Belichick was out there after the Patriots job and really going after him? You'd have to ask him that question.
But again, he doesn't want to relinquish that power. He doesn't want to be, he wants to be the center of attention. He wants to be able to. He's been the
center of attention for 30 plus years.
But he wants this. This is all he wants. He loves doing this. I think he wants it more than winning. I think the attention that he gets and his ability to go on drive time radio shows after every game on Monday, Belichick would tell the owner to piss off. Yeah. You're not doing that.
I'm surprised. At what point, does Jerry Jones just consider to hire one of his sons or something? Well, I'm surprised that wasn't done.
Oh, as head coach.
I know his son's the GM, but I mean, I'm surprised. How far can it go?
I it's so bad. I mean, again, like McCarthy didn't care about having power. It was just he was okay being the coach, and he did a really good job with what he was dealt.
You know what's funny about this though is I'm not if there's a Cowboys hater on this panel right now, it's gonna be you. But like, to all the Cowboys fans out there that still want to claim that you're the Dallas Cowboys and America's team and this and that, you literally have a vacancy for your head coaching position right now. If you were America's team and that big of a deal, this would be a dream job to anybody out there. But because of the constant accumulation of lack of success over the years and your owner getting louder and louder and older and more impatient, this is the result of that. There are not a lot of guys that actually want this job right now. They would be leaving their college programs. They would be leaving their NFL coaching positions. They would be doing whatever to get in that seat, and it's not happening.
It's not the same. It's really not. I mean, and again, the attention that you can get, like the NFL is so interesting because, in baseball, it's the big markets, right? It's being the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Mets and the big markets. It's about being there, and you get more attention. In the NFL, a little bit in the NBA. The NBA tries to do this model. In the NFL, you could be in Green Bay, and you're going to get a ton of attention. If you're good in Tennessee and you deserve it, you're going to get attention. Maybe not the same attention, but attention. People will talk about you. And, yeah, people talk about the Dallas Cowboys more, sure, but it's not the same. It's a different world we live in where they're just not on any. The Chiefs are America's team right now.
Yep. And you know what's funny, which I didn't consider? I wonder if in the age of social media, if the big positions have gotten less and less desirable because, the media has always been there. It's always been allowed. You'll always hear about the New York media and everything like that. But if you're struggling in New York, you get it from the media. You get lip. You get bad interviews, whatever. Right. And that's it. You get put in the paper and whatever. But these days now with social media and like you can never turn it off. At some point, it's got to be like overwhelming and just like you're like, I don't want to deal with it.
You can't. You can't even think about that. I mean, if you're thinking about that, preemptively, then you're gonna have issues.
Right. Yeah, you're gonna have problems. I don't think any head coach in the NFL has social media anyways. I don't know why you would.
No.
I would shut off everything.
Mark Andrews better shut it off.
Yeah.
That's where we're going right now. The Bills and the Ravens.
Nice segue, bro. Good segue.
The Bills and the Ravens. JM, I'm sorry. I won't dance on you. I'm not going to dance on you. My Buffalo Bills.
Big pause.
My bad.
Go ahead.
I'm not going to dance on your grave here.
Okay.
All right, listen.
Don't dance on my grave with those 127 passing yards, please.
The Bills, they took care of their business. That's it. The great teams in this league, they win games when their star players aren't playing that great, and they did just that.
I would be worried though if I were the Bills.
Oh, they're not winning this week.
Not like obviously, no crap. Like you're going in Arrowhead and playing the back-to-back Super Bowl champions, you got to be worried. But off of last week's performance, I would be worried. I think that you did not play anywhere close to the best you've played all season in that game. If they were, they would have pulled away way earlier and stayed away because the Ravens were practically giving them that game at one point. The sloppy play, the turnovers, the fumbling, all that stuff. And the Bills just never really fully clicked on offense. Allen had probably his worst game of the season if I had to look back. I don't know if I remember him having 127 passing yards and 20 rushing yards with 10 carries. I mean, that is crazy low numbers. Obviously, he had the 2 rushing touchdowns that make it a little better. It's not like he played terribly. But the Bills' offense as a whole didn't have the best day. The Ravens gave up a lot of turnovers, and they just played a sloppier game than the Bills did. But now going into Kansas City, you got to have what the Eagles did last week up until late in the fourth quarter, where you come off a crappy game and you play a good game. That's what the Bills need to do.
The Bills need to do that. I think it does when you're a good team like that and offensively you don't play your game and then you're able to still win that football game. When we said it last week about the Eagles, they did not play well against the Packers. They come in. they beat the Rams, right? And it looked like it was going to be in dominating fashion, and then they don't hit an extra point and don't cover the spread.
Mike, stop.
0 for 15 in my last 15 bets.
Yeah, by the way, we need to come up with a new term.
Do we want to talk about that?
Like the wake and cash. So I went to bed before the national championship game ended on Monday night, and I wrote his parlay of Ohio State money line and the alternate under 50 and a half.
Yeah.
Obviously the alternate over hit there by a pretty large margin. And I had a wake and no cash. So I was like, I asked my brother actually, he said wake and crash, I think is the term we're going to go with there.
Wake and dead.
But it's a bad feeling. Like, you people out there know what I'm talking about. When you wake up and you see your bet hit, great feeling. So imagine the opposite of that. Sucks. Mike, sorry to bash you, but like, I never confronted you on that. That hurt.
0 for 15.
Hurt a lot.
0 for 15.
Yeah, not great.
That's tough. That is tough to do.
It gets tough out there.
Your last 15 wagers, you don't win
Wagers or parlays?
Everything.
That's really bad. Okay.
Everything.
That's really
straight
That's
bets.
Actually, you should like
Parlays.
Submit that to the Gambling Hall of Fame or something.
It was 13 in one day.
That's
Few different parlays in each game. Couple straight bets in each game.
What's the thing? The girl, the 1,000 guys in a day or whatever.
Wow.
That's you.
Yeah.
Mike Merlo sells 20 parlays in one day. That's you.
Getting plowed by the sports book. That's what I'm getting. She's getting 100
Put it
guys.
on OnlyFans. Mike Merlo gets railed by the sports books.
That's me.
Yeah.
0 for 15. Just put that. Think about that. It's so difficult to think about. Anyway, Jesus Christ. Back to the Bills game. I actually, if I bet what I was gonna do straight, I would have hit this. But I didn't bet the Bills straight. I was just like, I'm just gonna watch the game. Yeah. I had like 6 parlays and I lost. Either way, yet Allen didn't play that well. They didn't have to. Yeah, a couple of bad turnovers by the Ravens. Obviously, that fumble that was returned, the interception by Lamar. Obviously, again, the fumble by Andrews.
I hate to kick the guy when he's down, but was that not the worst individual performance you've seen in a little while?
From a receiver, yeah.
A drop?
Or from a tight end.
Two drops, bad drops, and one in obviously a huge spot, and then the fumble.
The fumble was terrible.
The fumble might have been the worst play.
The fumble was terrible. The fumble was the catch was difficult. The ball was not where it was supposed to be. He's falling down. It's cold.
Maybe not perfect, but
he's
got to
catch it. He's got to catch it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the easiest play in the world.
No.
That
But you're
fumble
also,
was bad.
when you're running that play where you're running flat along the goal line and looking over your shoulder like that, you're expecting to turn and catch anyways.
It was bad. I thought he caught it.
Yeah, so
did Jim Nantz, by the way.
Yeah.
Jim Nantz was like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
Not
I hope Mark Andrews hasn't been on Twitter. There's been some crazy stuff out there.
We're not repeating it.
Yeah, we're not saying it. You guys can look it up. There's a certain hashtag out there that's absolutely absurd.
Go type in Mark Andrews.
Yeah, you'll see it.
It's not good.
You know, but it is a cliche, and I was just ripping on them for not playing a great game, but like, a lot of the times the Chiefs have been great at it this year. The qualities of great teams is you can win ugly.
Yeah.
And the Bills won ugly.
Bills won ugly. They didn't have much on the running game. The defense was good. They created turnovers. But again, like, Lamar throws the interception. Lamar fumbles. You know, you have that drop, obviously, by Andrews. The other fumble. Like, you can't turn the ball over and expect to win these games. You can't. And the one thing about Buffalo that is so completely different, and I'm on Kansas City next week, and we're obviously going to break down that game coming up, but the one thing that would scare the hell out of me if I was Kansas City is that Buffalo is more efficient than they've been in years, and they don't turn the football over anymore. They've won the turnover battle. This is the longest streak ever by a team that they win the turnover battle. So they've completely flipped their identity. I mean, even last season, go back, Allen was great. I think he turned the ball over 18 times.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing that is completely different into this game is that both of these teams now heading in are efficient and they can win ugly. And I don't think this is going to be an ugly game. I trust the KC defense more than I trust the Buffalo defense. But Buffalo, the difference in this game and the difference in the entire weekend was turnovers. The team that turned the ball over less won the game. That was it.
Yep, that's usually the name of the game, right?
Yeah, and that was clear on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
And the team that didn't miss 2 extra points, a field goal, let up a 70-yard return, and 8 sacks, but they're complaining about the officials. Yeah, please. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah. Are we going to preview that game now, or are we going to save that?
We're going to save the AFC Championship game. We're going to quickly go through. That's a perfect segue right into the Texans, who are crying, even though they played a terrible football game. Yeah. That's it on the Ravens, though. It's all we got, unfortunately, for your Ravens. You know.
No, that's okay. My Ravens, yeah.
That's I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, the complaints about the refs in the Texans Chiefs game was a little over the top.
Bad calls. I'm not saying they weren't bad calls.
I know there's a lot of people out there that could feel the same. Like, I'm sure you're sitting down with your buddies watching that game this past weekend, and you're seeing Patrick Mahomes like flop out of bounds, and you're just like cursing at the TV because you're just so tired of seeing it and seeing them try to play the refs and get the calls and everything like that. It's exhausting. But yeah, that being said, even with the poor penalties that were thrown, and there were a good amount of them, the Texans had no chance in that game.
Again, how was it extra points or field goals he missed twice?
He missed he missed the extra point. He missed that, what was it, 40?
Missed a field goal. They let up a 70-yard return. Yeah. They sacked them 8 times. Listen, I know the stat that they outgained them by 100 yards and they didn't turn the football over. And they're the first team ever. They're 49-0.
Turn it over, yeah.
What?
No, I said that happens all the time. I was talking about them outgaining them. Maybe not those two combined. Right. That is kind of nuts.
It's crazy, but that's not the reason. The officiating was not the reason why they lost. Right. And now Kansas City gets to move on. And listen, we used to talk about this with Gronk and Brady. Not necessarily Brady. Brady was always great. But Gronk, he would take vacations. Like Aaron Judge, middle of the season or the postseason. He likes to take a little vacation, do nothing. That's what Gronk would do in the regular season. And then Gronk, no response there. Well, you just let me take a shot at Aaron Judge there?
I'm just numb to it.
It's let me take a shot at Aaron Judge?
I've heard it so many times. I figured if I didn't acknowledge it,
not even fun anymore. It's not even fun anymore now. I'm not even going to do it anymore.
That's why I just didn't do anything.
Oh, my God.
My method worked.
Ruined my fun.
Go ahead.
Gronk would do nothing in the regular season. And then postseason came around. Bang. Yeah. This is a thing. This is now a thing.
It is a thing. It definitely is
with Kelsey. Of course.
Yes, right. It is a thing. Over 100 receiving yards. Didn't think Unk had that in him still, but he did. Unk. And
he's a little Chubbs.
He is a little Chubbs.
We're
still seeing Taylor.
Yeah, good for her.
That's cool.
Caitlin Clark.
Good for her, right? Mike. I'm gonna pump the. I gotta wait for when we're gonna talk about the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it is a real thing. It's a real thing that he can turn it on. Mahomes, he reminded us he still is a very, very, very talented quarterback. That touchdown pass he threw, where he threw it falling down past Aziz Al-Shaair.
Yeah.
Into Travis Kelce's hands for a touchdown was a phenomenal play, and Mahomes was making some real good plays. He threw an absolute laser down the field for a deep ball that got broken up on a nice play by a Texans defender, but what a throw it was. Yeah, it's a real thing, though, with this Kelce and Mahomes thing.
And, I do want to mention this. Kelsey's great. They need a couple. I mean, it's too late in the season now, obviously, but they could use a couple of receivers to step up here. I know Worthy's been good for them, and they've kind of gotten him more involved. But where's DeAndre Hopkins? Marquise Brown didn't have a catch in this game. So if they want to beat this Bills team, they're going to have to get more guys involved in the receiving game.
Yeah, if it was like 2019, this receiver room would be, Hollywood Brown, Juju, DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
You're looking at some nice names there.
Yeah, that'd be good.
It's not 2019.
It's not.
No.
It's not. And they're going to need their best to beat this Chiefs team. This Bills team. I don't have anything else until we talk about the AFC Championship game, so we'll wait and we'll flip the switch here to the NFC, where the Washington Commanders. I'm switching it, actually.
Bro.
In our doc, I had the other game first. The Commanders beat the Lions, the most shocking game of the weekend. Oh, wait, one more thing I wanted to ask you, because I didn't watch the Chiefs game live. Did you have any doubt at all that the Chiefs were going to lose to win the game?
No. They were the whole time.
The whole time,
they're winning.
Even when it was close.
You don't even think about it.
Like you thought.
This week, Like it's like, okay, it's go time. Like
Yeah.
this is a football game.
But
now.
you were like,
you're like, no, they're not losing this.
Okay, because I didn't watch the game like totally live. In the back of my head, following it, I'm like, they're not losing the game.
And honestly, I would have had the same feeling if it was the Chargers too.
What do you mean?
I would have the same feeling during that game if it was a close game.
Oh,
and
okay.
It was the Chargers,
If it was the Chargers,
like,
yeah.
they're not going to win this game.
I thought the Chargers had a chance. I'm not gonna lie.
I didn't think they did.
I
I thought they had a damn good chance in the wild card round.
They didn't.
And
Obviously.
they did not.
Yeah, they did not. Mike, the Lions are out.
Yeah.
The Washington Commanders and Jayden Daniels, the best rookie quarterback of all time, probably. He goes in there.
Combining with the playoff success, yes.
You think his regular season statistics
His regular season
do not
is
match
not
up?
the best of all time.
It would be Andrew Luck. In your
It would
opinion?
be Cam Newton or Andrew Luck.
I'm going to test you on that. That's what I'm
Probably
gonna do
Cam. I think Cam Newton probably had
probably
the best rookie season of all
right
time.
now. Probably going to test you. on
I'd
that
have to
right
look
now.
at the numbers one more time, which I'm assuming Mike is going to pull up right now. But
Talk about
we
your guys'
forget,
team.
like, recency bias. Like, yeah, Jayden Daniels was great this year. C.J. Stroud was great last year. Justin Herbert had a real good rookie season. But Cam Newton and Andrew Luck had some damn good rookie years.
Do you know there were 2 Cam Newtons?
I did know there were 2 Cam Newtons, actually.
I didn't. I almost clicked on the wrong one. Yeah, rookie year Cam Newton threw 17 interceptions.
Yeah, but it was a different game back then.
2011?
He had them boys moving different.
Yeah, Cam's out for me, so
Yeah,
I'll
how
go to the
many
other guy.
passing yards did he have?
4,000.
Okay, and now show his rushing stats, Mike. We're kind of forgetting that. He was
No, Mike.
sort of like a dual threat.
Now my computer's being a little freaky.
God, dude, what do you got? An HP? Nothing? He had 14 rushing touchdowns and 706 rushing yards.
Yeah.
He had 35 total touchdowns?
Yeah, he did.
All right, I'll give you Jayden because of the record. Jayden went to the playoffs.
I'm trying to look how
But
many.
Cam Newton, like, started the, like, like, rookie quarterbacks can be, like, really freaking good
He also
out
turned-
of the gates.
He also turned the ball over 22 times that year. Just saying.
Yeah.
With the 5 fumbles you want to add. The only other guy I would say is Luck. I know, obviously, Stroud was great last year, but Stroud said Jayden's better than him. So if the guy's saying he's better, then I'm not going to even look at it. Luck had 18 interceptions
Yo,
that
look
year.
at that. Oh,
Yeah,
now he's
no.
going to walk back everything that he said.
It's Jayden. I went into this
but
saying
see,
it was
this-
Jayden.
No, but this is my point, is we have this, as football fans, it's in our brains that, oh, yeah, Andrew Luck had a really good rookie season. Cam Newton had a really good rookie season, because we remember it, not because we looked at their stats. But that's what I'm saying, is the game back then, it was a little different. There weren't as crazy numbers out there and such efficient passing numbers out there. Cam Newton was like a freaking trailblazer.
Oh, by the way, Cam was better than Luck.
He was.
Yeah.
I said that.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Jayden, though, he's
It's
better
up.
than all.
It's overall now, it's the best rookie season of all time.
It's the best rookie season of all time. And Stroud was first.
No, he was not.
Stroud was first.
No, he's not.
Yes, he was.
I'd take Cam Newton over Stroud.
I would take Stroud over Cam Newton. And Andrew Luck. And Jayden Daniels over everybody. I don't care about recency bias. I really don't. He was efficient. He's more efficient. He got them into the playoffs. Both of these guys, rookie year playoffs. And Daniels is in the NFC freaking championship. If I told you this prior to the year starting, what would have been your words to me?
What sort of recreational illegal drugs are you taking, and where can I find them?
Yeah, that's probably right.
Yeah.
That's probably right. Daniels is here. The Lions, we'll talk about them because we're going to obviously look at and preview the NFC Championship game coming up. Shocking. I mean, my opinion on this team is not going to change because of how beat up they were defensively. And I wish I could have saw it coming a little bit more, that a team that was so good all season long, had the bye, but was so banged up defensively. Like, I had the Commanders. I ended up switching my pick, and I had the Commanders plus the 8.5. That is after. This was before my really tough streak.
Right, you're 0 for 15.
Right.
That hasn't been broken yet either, right?
No. Should I look for?
It's ongoing.
Should I look for a random college basketball game?
I think you should.
Okay, I'll do it later. I don't know. Like, my opinion of this team does not change. They were still great. It was going to catch up to them defensively at some point. I thought it would, whether it was this round, whether it was the NFC Championship game, which is what I thought.
Right.
The injuries on defense were always going to catch up to them.
Yeah, you did think that it was like, that piano hanging over their head, and at some point the rope's gonna cut and it's gonna come crashing down. And I agree. I mean, I thought they could get to the Super Bowl, and then from there, obviously it's one game. Who knows what's gonna happen? But you did have the feeling that at some point that offense isn't gonna be able to keep up with how poor that defense ends up playing because of all the injuries. But, I mean, nobody saw this coming. Nobody saw it coming.
And when I say the defense was obviously going to let up, disappoint them, in no right way, in no world that I think the Commanders would hang 45 on them.
The Lions are familiar to it. They're a team that in their second year with Dan Campbell, they went 9-8 and went on a crazy streak to end the year. The Commanders, they're 7-0 in their last 7 football games. We look at the overall body of work and we see a wild card team and a team that went 12-5 and that still had an impressive resume. But we're talking about one of, if not the best team in football right now with the way this team has played over the last 7 weeks. I mean, they're a young team. They were an up and coming, developing team. First year coach with a coach's first year with the organization, a rookie quarterback, young guys they've been developing as the year goes on. And at this current point, you have to take them seriously. Obviously, they're in the NFC Championship game, but you have to take them seriously this weekend. And you have to take them seriously as a Super Bowl winner contender.
It's crazy. I can't believe we're here. Last thing on the Lions, they're going to lose the coordinators. We'll talk about that effect in the offseason. But is there a duo of running back, wide receiver that you would take over Gibbs and St. Brown? That's really putting you on the spot.
Yes.
Who?
Saquon and A.J. Brown. I would take them over Amon-Ra and Gibbs. Pure talent-wise.
Anybody else?
I think Gibbs. I think St. Brown's great. He's tough.
St. Brown's better than St. Brown to me is better than Brown.
Right now. A.J. Brown hasn't played the best couple weeks.
Yeah, and Brown's been inconsistent this year.
I'd probably still go A.J. Brown.
Would you?
That might be a little bit of a hot take, but A.J. Brown's more my typical X wide receiver. Amon-Ra plays a lot in the slot. It's a lot of, they run a lot of flood concept and him, finding the holes in the zones. And I don't know if I trust him to run a full route tree and break down your number one corner all day long.
All right.
Let me think. Who else?
Kyron and Puka?
No.
I'll probably take those two.
No,
Gibbs and St. Brown.
I'd take Gibbs and St. Brown, yeah, for sure. And not Aaron Jones and Jefferson, not Chase and Chase, but Chase and Brown.
That's close though. If Chase Brown has a big year, that could be close.
I think the McCaffrey, Debo, those days are kind of over.
Those are done.
Yeah, I think AJ Brown and Saquon Barkley gives them the biggest run for their money.
Not Tyrone Tracy and
not Tyrone Tracy and
Neighbors. All right, just making sure.
And surprisingly, not Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, whoever else.
That one coming into the year would have been close.
That would have been close, yeah.
But Breece Hall decided to take a crap all over himself.
Are we missing anybody else?
I don't think so.
I'm thinking running backs and then who the receiver is paired with them.
Nobody on the Ravens,
How
obviously.
about this time next year, maybe a little Bucky Irving, Mike Evans.
Wow, yeah, maybe.
Shout out Bucky.
But I still wouldn't.
Not Jacobs. No.
Nobody.
No.
It's done.
That's it. That's all
dead.
I got. Yeah, dead.
Interesting. All right. Well, that's enough on the Lions. Goff, really, in the pressure situations. That was good. 3 interceptions. That was good.
Yeah, no, good for him. Come on.
I think they're going to fall off.
The body's not even cold yet.
I really think they're going to fall off.
I don't know if they're going to fall.
They're not going to fall off in a huge way, but they're not going to win. They're not going to win the division next year.
They're going to get healthier. Oh, then who is?
Bears? No, Bears or the Packers.
You're just writing the Vikings off again. We're going to do it again.
No, I think the Vikings could be a wild card team.
Okay. Well,
you might have 4.
Who knows what their freaking quarterback's going to be, too?
JJ. I like JJ.
Yeah,
I think JJ's going to be good there.
This is way too early to be talking about that next year. You made me lose my train of thought. Oh, the Lions, right. Next year, offensive line is still going to be really, really good.
Sure.
That defense is going to be healthier.
Yep.
They're going to have better luck, like injury-wise. It's just like impossible, basically, not to. And, is Goff, could he maybe have a down year with no Ben Johnson and just kind of the balance of the freaking universe that this guy just threw 37 touchdowns? Maybe. But I would still rely on them to be one of the best offenses in the NFL, and that defense should be a little better.
We'll see.
I think their window is longer than you think.
I hope that losing Johnson and all the other coaches and Glenn is not going to hurt them.
I just think I'm also a little bit of more of a Campbell guy than you are.
Oh yeah, you are. Yeah. Big Campbell guy over here. What is it, Campbell soup?
Yes.
You're eating all that soup.
Yes. SpaghettiOs.
Yeah, really. All right. Saquon dominates in a win. I mean, who the hell cares? Let's say this. Let's ask this question. I went through it, JM. I don't think there's many. You could call me out here. Diana Rossini posed this question on her podcast. I'm just going to steal it. Is he the most impactful free agent signing in the last 10 years? She said ever. It's not ever. He's not the most impactful free agent signing ever. That's absolutely wild. But last 10 years?
Impactful free agent signing over the last 10 years.
Who's bigger? Peyton was earlier than that. Peyton's obviously
I'm thinking
one.
About quarterbacks. Has anybody as a quarterback?
Tom Brady. That's about it.
Yeah, Tom Brady, yes.
Tom Brady's one.
Tom Brady. She had Saquon over Tom Brady.
She was really considering it.
Okay. Good for you, Diana, I guess. All right. Here's my take on this, though. Saquon has been phenomenal, but it's sort of a maybe I'm gonna take back what I'm saying, but it was a perfect marriage sort of a thing. So it's not a knock to him. He's amazingly talented, but the Eagles had that in place, and I think you could have stuck a couple different, not a lot, but a couple of different guys in that situation. They would have a similar impact.
I don't.
Not as good. But I think if you put Josh Jacobs in on the Eagles, he would have rushed for 1,700 plus yards. Maybe not 2,000. 1,700.
They are so reliant on him right now because of the struggles from Hurts and Brown and Smith. I don't know. I don't think, and I like Jacobs, but I don't think he's capable of carrying a team like Saquon is. And Saquon's
he did
probably
for a couple weeks, honestly, with the Packers.
He did. But all season long?
Right. No, Saquon's the best running back in the NFL. I'm not knocking Saquon. He's amazingly talented, and he's so fun to watch.
I can't believe we're saying this. I really can't
believe he honestly has had, you're not surprised that the talent, you're surprised that at this point that where he's, the redemption his career has sort of had, the arc.
Yeah, that's my...
Yeah, but obviously we know the talent's always been there.
Of course.
How about this? He a Hall of Famer?
I think if he wins the Super Bowl, he probably is.
I just think
after this year, I think he will be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
he'll be. But if he wins this Super Bowl, I think he's a lock to go to the Hall of Fame. Right, if he retired.
The unfortunate thing about the NFL, it's not like the MLB where if you play on a crappy team, you could still put up your numbers. Like Mike Trout's done his whole career. You're no matter where you go, you're going to be batting in a lineup at 9 guys, and you're going to be getting 4 at bats a game. And the only thing that changes is who you're playing and the dimensions of your stadium.
Right.
But there's not a lot of factors that go into it. You're still, if you're a really good player, you're going to put up really good numbers. In football, it's been happening as long as the history of the sport, where you have a very talented player who just never reaches his full potential of production because of the situation that he's in. Unfortunately for Saquon, that was him for most of his Giants career, excluding his rookie year and maybe 2022.
Yeah.
And obviously, he had some injuries through there, but the efficiency and everything like that was bad because the Giants never had a great offense and their offensive line was never great. I feel like when you look at how good he's been in Philly now, when he finally has the offensive line and the good offense around him, that kind of gets him in. Even if the career numbers aren't all there, you're like, okay, we confirmed it. This guy's a Hall of Fame talent and he deserves to be in.
It's just it's sickening. It's so sickening. Yeah. He was great in his rookie year. He had 2,000. He had over 2,000.
All purpose.
Yeah, all purpose. Yeah. He had 700 receiving yards that year and 91 catches. He was, unbelievable in that rookie year. But It's sad. It really is sad. And again, this is coming from somebody that did not want him. I really didn't, but the Giants should have done a better job, obviously, of putting a team around him, and they never were able to do so. It sucks.
Yeah. They're still not wrong for not bringing him back, though.
No, and I love that. I love the people that think, they screwed themselves.
Yeah. My argument to those people, if you just heard what I said and you're like, what the hell is this guy talking about? What, do you see how good he's playing? What do we think happened? All of a sudden he woke up this offseason? He was like, oh, I'm going to play really good this year. I found something in my... no, he's always been this good. But the Giants were just never able to unlock his full potential, and they were never going to be able to do that this year anyways.
They could never do it. It was never going to happen.
It was the best case scenario for him, and I wouldn't call it a win-win because the Giants, are still struggling, but the Giants' future and everything is better off without Saquon, unfortunately for them, and fortunately for him.
A 27-year-old running back who's played 6 seasons in the NFL prior to this one was not a good idea to build around.
I can't believe he's 27. It feels like he's 30.
He's 21 when he was his rookie year.
Wow. That's nuts.
I don't know. I also understand though the argument of don't let great talent walk out your door. I also understand that.
Yeah,
I get that. It's overrated.
That's overrated.
It's an overrated take.
Don't let great talent walk out the door. Okay.
Maybe the Giants should have. All right, I can understand that argument for McKinney. McKinney's a 25-year-old guy, captain.
Sure.
Maybe don't let him walk out the door.
But a running back,
28-year-old running back,
has
been injured,
been your entire offense, and it still hasn't been able to put out a good offense. I don't know.
I'm good.
Yeah.
The Rams, though. Rams are a scary team going forward. I really like their future. Obviously, the quarterback, they're going to have to figure out a future quarterback. But, Stafford next season, build up the offensive line, get another receiver. That defense is going to be fantastic. Mm-hmm. Jared Verse, by the way, taking all the heat. I mean, they put his quote on the big board at Lincoln Financial Stadium. Yeah. He played a big game for them. He played a really good game despite all that. So give him credit. He backed up his talk. And this Rams team's fine. They really, oh my God, they were going to win that game.
Yeah. What a quick turnaround, too. Yep. Just
in the snow.
As a franchise.
Oh, yeah.
In that game, too. Yeah. But, as a franchise, I mean, what a quick pivot. And that's what really good organizations do. The Green Bay Packers did it. You think you're entering this new era and a rebuild, a retool, whatever, and you make the playoffs. You find a way to just compete, and that's what great coaching does, and that's what great organizations do. So hats off to them. Stafford is still, he's got still some left in the tank. He's not as old as people think. He's still in his, mid to late 30s. He's not 40 years old yet, so he's still got some years left.
Yep.
And Cooper Kupp I would be shocked if he's there next year. I think it's not a dramatic situation. It's kind of just, you could tell that's all right, it's time for that era to be over, sort of a thing.
He wasn't getting the ball at all.
He was not getting the ball, and I think he'd be better off, if he went somewhere else to end his career and maybe, provided some veteran presence in another room, like an Adam Thielen sort of path somewhere else. But Puka's going to be we're going to be talking about fantasy football later on in the year. I've been saying that if I had a first-round pick that was high, I'd be taking Puka Nacua next year because Matt Stafford is going to feed the crap out of that guy. But, they got a nice future.
JM, I'm going to read you a couple of NFC Championship games, okay? And this is where we're going to go here to the NFC Championship game as we preview it. I'm going to name you. I'm going to go through a few, and you're going to tell me if any of these teams in the game in this year were more shocking than the Commanders being in this game, okay? Okay, so last year, the Niners and the Lions.
Lions had a, nice, surprising year, but when the playoffs started, no, I would not be shocked when the Lions were in there.
The Eagles in 2022-23 season and the Niners.
Nope. Literally the top two teams in the NFC.
There we go. The Rams and the 49ers the year prior.
Same thing. 49ers were great. Rams, that's the year they won the Super Bowl, no?
Yep.
Yeah, not surprised.
Bucks Packers, the 2020 Brady goes to beat the
Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady.
Yep.
I'm not surprised. Yep.
The year prior, the Packers and the Niners, that blowout.
Again, Yep, not surprised. Aaron Rodgers is in there, and the Niners were great that year.
So we just went through about 5 of them. Nobody is as shocking as the Commanders. And we'll go down the list. I don't think there's anybody in the last 10 years that is more shocking than this team.
Is the most shocking championship game appearance that I can remember since the Jaguars in 2017.
There we go. That's a good one. On the AFC side, yep.
That's the team that was a shock.
It's fascinating that they're here. I mean, it is. And this is the worst that I think a Commander team is going to look in the next few years, roster-wise.
Can you go back to that? Maybe the Vikings?
Well, I didn't go
Minnesota
to the Vikings.
Miracle, Case Keenum, that team?
That team, sure. Okay. I didn't go that far.
Yeah, no, but I was thinking because I said the Jags were 2017.
Yeah, they're 18.
I'd still go with the Jags were more surprising than that one, though. The Jags were Blake Bortles.
That big upset in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, right.
We were at Buffalo Wild Wings for that.
That was an amazing game.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, though. Go ahead. I know I interrupted.
I don't remember where I was.
Something about how exciting this game is.
The roster, this is the worst that Jayden Daniels led Commanders team is going to look like in the next 5 years. I mean, the roster is only going to get better with more drafts and more money spent on the team. So that's why I think if you're a team in the NFC, this is scary. The best quarterback in the NFC is a rookie, and he's playing with arguably his worst roster he'll ever play with. This team, you're right. I don't think they're going to win the game. But prior, like when they had first advanced, I was like, oh, Philly's going to beat the doors off of this team when Philly wins. And I don't think that anymore. I'm not as confident in Philly as I was maybe 3 days ago. I really do feel like the Commanders have a fighting chance in this game.
I 100% do. I mean, they just knocked off the number 1 seed. You cannot sit there and think that they have no chance in this game. Of course they do. They had the big win against the Eagles late in the year. That was the game Hurts got injured. So we'll see with a healthy Jalen Hurts, if it's a different story. If it's
he's banged up right now
to their first matchup, but he is banged up right now. And the Commanders, like I said, they're 7-0 in their last 7. They've been playing really, really good football. So I would take the Commanders to cover this spread. I think it's going to be a really good game. If they won the game, it would be, it would be surprising. Again, it would not be as shocking to me though, knowing that we just saw the way they played against the Lions. The Lions game would be more shocking to me with the Commanders win, but they're going to be playing really well. And the Eagles, they've showed that they've struggled at some points in these playoffs. They've played about 5 good quarters of football in the playoffs so far, and three not so good ones. So we'll see what we get.
Played a good defense last week. They put up some points, even in the snow. They obviously relied on Saquon as the weather got worse. They're going to need a good performance from Jalen Hurts. I mean, they're going to need to throw the ball. And I just wonder, should we be concerned here? It's 2 straight weeks. Again, the weather got bad late in the game on Sunday. Are there any concerns heading into this one and Hurts is banged up, like I just mentioned, that he might not have a good game, that he might not be on his A game? I think you have to be a little bit.
Yeah,
you haven't seen it.
Of course there are concerns, but I don't know if necessarily he even needs to be on his A game. We know how that Philadelphia Eagles, what engine it runs on, that offense. So if Saquon's going well and that run game is going and Hurts is protecting the football and, he gives you a B passing day, they could still definitely win that.
That's what's so scary about them. Their defense is so good, and that's where I think they have a serious advantage. I think Vic Fangio is going to be able to throw some different things at Jayden Daniels that maybe he hasn't seen. I know they had the success in that game offensively that Hurts got hurt in, and they were able to win that football game. I just think this defense is playing so well. Yes, Nakobe Dean's a big loss. I think Mitchell's going to play, actually. I think a lot of people thought he wasn't Quinyon Mitchell. He's going to play. It's tough. It go either way on the spread for me. I'd probably lean Eagles because of the defense, but I don't know. It's gonna be tough. Who has the coaching advantage in this? I think that's an interesting question.
Eagles.
I think the Eagles
have the coaching advantage
but it's close.
It's close. They've been a very well coached. The really cool thing about the Commanders and what Cliff Kingsbury's been able to do, that offense, their short passing game is one of the best I think I have ever seen. Like when it is, and they're the best 4th down team in football ever for a reason. When they are within 5 yards of a touchdown, of a first down, or whatever, and they're going to pass it, it's almost automatic. Zach Ertz has been actually a great acquisition for them. He's been like a nice safety blanket for Jayden Daniels.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very shifty at the line of scrimmage. Their receivers, they cut well running those short routes. Jayden Daniels is such a threat with his legs. And they have a big running back in Brian Robinson that could gash you. And they also have a running back in Austin Eckler that can catch out of the backfield and has been doing it for a long time. They are really good in short distance scenarios.
It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a fun one in Philadelphia. You made your pick. You think the Commanders with the spread. I'll go Eagles with the spread. I'll take the 4. I'll give you the 4.5. And I think the Eagles will win. And do you think the Eagles win close, or do you think the Commanders are in the Super Bowl?
I think the Eagles win close. Very close.
By a field goal.
I think they win by a field goal.
There we go. A tough one. Tough scenario for a rookie quarterback to be in.
Yeah.
And now to the AFC Championship Game. The second biggest AFC Championship game in the last 10 years, JM. In the last 10 years of our viewing history, for the most part. The second biggest one, only behind the Chiefs and the Brady led Patriots, excuse me. What was that, 7 years ago? 8 years ago? Yeah. 7 years ago. You think there's been a bigger one? You think there's been a bigger AFC
very
game?
Close. This has been a fun saga, but I would argue that Chiefs-Bengals round 2 was better. Because that was actually a rivalry. The Bengals beat them the year prior.
Leading in.
Went to the Super Bowl. Joe Burrow seemed like Patrick Mahomes' kryptonite. And we thought it was going to be Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. It's actually going to be Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes for the next 10 plus years, whatever. And the Chiefs ended up winning that game. We remember, the unnecessary roughness call, and it was a close game. And it's very close.
They didn't have that, they had the back and forth, but this has been going on for years.
Yeah, this feels like
here.
it's like another Star Wars movie sort of a thing.
Did you
episode 5 or whatever the hell.
Did you see the comparison? Like, people are saying the Bills and the Chiefs are basically like an added team to their division because they've played so many times throughout the last 5 or 6 years.
Right.
I'm going to look at it right now.
They probably played, 10, 11 times in the last 6 years? Probably something like that, because I think this is their 4th playoff matchup in the last 6 years. So 10 times. If they played in the regular season every single time, which they're probably close to that.
It's crazy.
You got to start bookmarking your tweets.
I know. I actually bookmarked an interesting tweet that I wanted to bring up before. I'll do it right now with the other game. But yeah, it was crazy. Like, they've played like the Jets, the Dolphins, the Patriots 10 or 11 times, and then the Chiefs 9 times. I think it was 9 times. Yeah. So fascinating stuff. They're basically two teams. It's like a divisional game, basically. They know each other so well. It's such a big rivalry. I think that's why I would have it ahead of the Bengals game. But the legacy of Josh Allen, if he's able to win this game, does it do anything for his legacy? Like, in a major way? Like, are we going to think of Josh Allen as a different person on Sunday night at 10 o'clock if he's able to finally dethrone Patrick Mahomes?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because how do we think about Joe Burrow? I think everybody has given Joe Burrow this respect, even when he's not, the Bengals aren't even in the playoffs this year. But when you talk about Joe Burrow and he's playing well, you're like, oh, Joe Burrow's back. We know he's still that guy. Like, he's really good. For Josh Allen, what do we have? We still just have regular season statistics, and he hasn't been able to beat Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, who have been the New England Patriots. So if he gets it done, it does big things for his career, and then obviously he still needs to win the Super Bowl. But how he's viewed amongst quarterbacks, it definitely makes a difference.
I can't wait, because again, like, we look at the game last week with the Ravens and the Bills. It's like, this game means so much to both quarterbacks. And you almost feel like, I felt bad for Lamar. Mm-hmm. But for Allen here, like, for Mahomes, like, they want the three-peat and they want the history and they want to be considered the greatest, and there's a lot of pressure on them, obviously, to do so. But the pressure on Allen here to win this game, it's massive, and it's so much fun to watch, like, this kind of football game. Like, I'm excited for the Commanders-Eagles game, but, like, How are you not just like dreaming of sitting down on Sunday and putting this game on?
Yeah, no.
That's how big this is. Like it's like a Super Bowl. It's like a second Super Bowl.
It is. It's a huge matchup. It's a battle of the two top quarterbacks in the AFC practically. I mean, Lamar and them are basically interchangeable. It's going to be a good one, Mike. I mean, I will say I think they're going to do it. I think the Bills are going to do it.
You think the Bills are going to beat them?
I really do.
And you're rooting for this.
I'm rooting for this. Yep, I'm rooting for this. And that is, but I really have no emotional attachment to the Bills, obviously. I generally don't like them as a Jets fan. I just think the Bills are playing Josh Allen's playing his best football that he has ever played. And they proved last week that they could win when it's ugly, and I trust them to bounce back this week, even though they should be nervous about doing that because they didn't play well last week. But I think they'll bounce back this week, and I think at some point, logical football analysis needs to take over, and not like, oh, well, the Chiefs just have this way about them that they're going to do it.
So
I think that the Bills are the better football team. That they have a quarterback that's playing better football. I just trust them to get it done more than I trust them.
So the one thing, and I've heard this take, and I don't know whether to believe it or not. So the thing is, a lot of people are saying, well, the Chiefs can't keep winning this way, right? Like something bad is something is going to break in the other team's favor. Right, like maybe there's a tip pass that doesn't get tipped a lot, or a call doesn't go their way, or something like that. Right, like some minuscule thing in a game that ends up leading to a win. I don't necessarily believe that because it hasn't happened yet. It hasn't happened in years, and they are so good in these late tight games. I just think I have the confidence in them at all times with that coach, with that quarterback, with that defense, that no matter what, they're going to come through in the big moments.
Yeah, but I mean, even the New England Patriots were not, they weren't made of steel. They had your beloved New York Giants beat them twice in the Super Bowl, and they've shown that at some point they can be beaten. So I don't know if I'd just be like, I trust them so much, this and that. Like, I think the Bills are playing better football.
But heading into those games, especially obviously the undefeated here, like I think my premise would, what I'm saying is, you would probably agree heading into that. Like obviously they are picked off eventually, but like there's no reason for me to, and I'm picking the Chiefs to win the game as much as I love the Bills, and I'll probably be rooting for the Bills even though I have money on the Chiefs. I just have no reason to pick against the Chiefs right now.
I totally understand it. I get it 100%. I just think the Bills played them. Obviously, we know the divisional game from a couple years ago. That was an absolute classic. And it came down into overtime, and the Bills really should have won the game. They screwed up. They let the Chiefs get back in it. And that's not a knock on, that's not like, oh, the Bills screwed up. The Chiefs are a great team. They found a way to win that game. The way I view it is the Bills are a better version of what they were during that year, and the Chiefs, I think, are a little bit of a worse version. And I think the Chiefs haven't been tested enough this specific year. They had the loss to Buffalo in Buffalo, obviously, but they had a 15-2 record in the regular season.
Yeah.
One of them resting all their starters. The Bills were their only loss. The Bills are the only team that knocked them off this year, and that doesn't matter. The Ravens beat the crap out of the Bills in the regular season. I'm not going to say that regular season
That's scary
matters.
if you're a Bills fan?
It really doesn't matter. No, I wouldn't care. Not at all. But we know that doesn't matter. In any sport, what you did in the regular season against a team versus when you meet up in the playoffs, it's completely different. But the Bills are a better version of that team than they were a couple years ago. The Chiefs have played a lot of one-score games, and they've won those one-score games. But I don't care what their regular season record was. The Minnesota Vikings went 14-3 and then got them with a lot of one-score wins and got the brakes beat off them by the Rams. I don't think that the Chiefs, when they get tested on Sunday, I don't think they have the same juice that those Chiefs teams have had over the past couple of years. And I think they're facing a different beast in this Bills team. And I think the over's going to hit. That would be my bet of the weekend. Okay. It's 48.5. I'm expecting a high-scoring game here, actually. and I think the Bills are going to get it done. Close, but I think they're going to get it done.
I think this is the year to get them. We thought last season that was the worst version of the Chiefs, and they obviously have a better record this year. This for the Bills, and I think more so in the way that the Bills are playing, which is mistake-free, efficient football. This is the year, even though you're not at home this year, to get this team. We thought it was last season when they had to go on the road. They did that. This is the year to get them, and we'll see what happens. I can't wait. You have anything else here?
I don't.
Hour 15.
Just excited.
Long one today.
Long one.
We had the coaches. We went 27 minutes on the coaches today. Guys, if you've stuck with us this long, we really appreciate it. Enjoy. I think this is the best weekend of the year, in my opinion. This is the best football weekend, in my opinion. So I cannot wait for Sunday. Enjoy Sunday. Obviously, next week we'll be back breaking down these games, getting ready for the Super Bowl a little bit. We're going to save that, I think, that for after the Pro Bowl, right? The week after the Pro Bowl. So more of a preview, but definitely getting ready for that, previewing that. Very excited.
Can't wait, Mike. Pumped up.
Talk to you guys next time.